Hello everyone, welcome back to the very exciting game played between Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa and Fabiano Caruana, Norway Chess 2024, round number 5. So, game starts with pawn to d4 and Fabi replied with knight to f6, pawn to c4, pawn to e6, knight to f3 and pawn to d5. So basically it is called Indian defense and anti-Nimzo Indian variation. So game goes on. Pawn to g3, bishop e7, bishop g2, castle, white castle, d takes c4 and queen to a4, just it will pick up the pawn. So pawn to a6, queen takes c4, pawn to b5 attacking the queen, and queen c2, bishop b7 and bishop f4. Just both players are developing their pieces on optimal squares. Knight goes to c6, knight bd2 and knight takes d4. Knight takes d4 and bishop takes g2. Knight takes e6. Before pick up this rook, white just counter attack on this queen and rook. So f takes e6 and kings takes g2. So right now in the black camp there is a weakness which is pawn to e6 and white will try to push over this pawn and try to win this pawn. Let's see what happens. Knight d5, bishop e5, pawn to c5, knight f3 and queen e8. So right now position is completely equal and both players are trying to do something so they can get advantage over their opponent. So rook a d1 and queen h5, queen to e4 and rook a d8, pawn to a4, just trying to break the queen side structure of black. So queen f5, just saying, do you wanna trade queens? So queen takes a5, e takes f5, f5, a takes b5, a takes b5, and rook to a1, rook a8, rook fd1, and knight f6. So basically, till now there is nothing major happening in the position. Players are trying to get some advantage somehow. So on to b3, knight e4, rook d7, just entering the black's camp on 7th rank. Bishop f6, bishop take f6, knight takes f6, and bishop take and rook takes a8. So rook takes a8 and rook c7, knight e4, knight e5 and rook e8, just attacking the knight. So knight to d3, knight d2 and rook takes c5, just winning one of the pawns which may be a problem in the future. So it is good for white. Just eliminate one of the pawns because black got majority over white because white has only b pawn and black had b and c pawn. So after that knight takes b3, rook takes f5. So somehow white managed to win a pawn, and now you can see the black has 3 pawns and white has 4 pawns, where white has 1 pawn island and black has 2 pawn islands. White will try to win this single pawn at all so he can dominate position on king side. So let's see what happens next. Knight to d4, rook d5, knight takes e2, black won 1 pawn. So it is quite good for black. So he can manage 2 versus 3 majority. So let's see. Rook takes b5. So queen side pawn is eliminated completely, and there is no issue on queen side. The white will focus only on king side right now. So knight to c3, rook b7, knight d5 and rook d7. Both players are just moving their pieces on optimal squares so they can get some advantage somehow. Knight goes to f6, rook a7, king f8, king f3, rook e7, rook takes e7, king takes e7, and they have just entered in the end game where black has 2 pawns and 1 knight and white has 3 pawns and 1 knight. So basically game is completely equal and drawish, but let's see, will they get any chance to get advantage over their opponent? And here is only white who can press in this position to win. So knight to c5, king f7, king f4, knight d5 check, king e5, knight e7, pawn to h4, just moving pawns on king side, knight c6 check, king e4, h6, pawn to g4, knight e7, knight d3, king f6 and knight f4. So still position is equal, pawn to g5. He wants to trade one of the pawns, so he will try to manage to control. Suppose white takes pawn, black takes pawn, then black will control the f4 and h4 squares, and almost position will be drawish and it will ended in a draw game. So let's see what happens. H takes g5 check, king takes g5 and pawn to f3, just solidifying and defending this pawn. Knight to c6, knight e6 check, king f6. Oh, sorry. So yeah, we were here, and king to f6 and knight d4, knight e5, king f4, knight d3 check, king e3, and they are just trying to do something. And after some 10 or 12 moves, let's see, will they find or get anything out of this position. So knight e5, king f4, knight d3 check, king g3, knight e1, pawn to f4, just trying to control the fifth rank. So let's see, knight to d3, knight f3, knight b4, knight d2, knight d5, knight e4 check, king e6, king f3, knight e7, knight g3, king d5, king e3, king e6, king to d4, just moving forward in the black's camp, king to f6, king e4, king e6. Black is not giving any chance white to move in his territory. So knight e2, knight g8, knight d4 check. And here is the moment when the next move will decide the result of the game. So here is the pause moment of this video. Can you find the best move for the black? Okay, so right now the black moved his king to f6, which is a completely blunder. So those who find the right move, you are quite a good player who can solve the positions, those positions which are played between 2800 super grandmasters. So you are really good player. So right now this move is a completely blunder. Let's see why this move is completely blunder. What is the reason that king f6 is a blunder? The point is white will play next move knight to f5. The point is knight is controlling the e7 square and is attacking h6 pawn. This pawn right now cannot move forward because g4 will take. This knight cannot move here because knight will take knight and king will go forward, will take entry in black's camp. White has majority of 2 pawns. It will be completely winning for the white. So actually what was the best move for black in this position? So king f7 is the right move. The point is right now if this knight goes there, suppose this knight goes there, then he can move knight to f6 check and he will try to ask question that either you go back, if you will come here then I will give you another check, and this king will be checked again and again and there is nothing happening. And when it will go back, then either king can come here or knight can go back to defend the pawn. So this was the point. So basically, king f7 was the right move, but the move was played king to f6, which was blundered. And after that, we will see the series of some moves which will give completely winning position. So after that, knight to f5, king to e6, king d4, king f6, knight takes h6, king to knight to e7, and king e4, just controlling the, actually these four squares are controlled by the pawns and still just trying to control the position with the help of king. So king g6, and here comes g5, just defending the knight. Okay, king to h5, king will try to come from backside somehow when this knight will move from here. So here comes knight to f7, and here he played knight to g6. So king f5, just going for attack this knight when this king will move here. And here comes knight e7 check, king goes forward on e6. Here comes knight c6 and king to and pawn to f5. Right now the pawn is defended by knight and there is nothing left for black, but still he will try to play some moves more. So knight to d4 check, king f6, king g4, knight d6, and in this position, as you can see, black has one knight only, but white has one knight and two extra pawns. So it is completely winning position for white, because right now king will move and the pawn will march forward, becoming queen. So in this position, black resigned and white won the game. So Praggnanandhaa got the victory in this positional play. So thanks for watching.